Hola. Cannot tell you how many videos I make that never see the light of day, but I'm going to try yet again. Here we are. It is October. I think it's October 10th, and it is a little bit past peak fall colors here. It's unbelievable. Kind of like this weekend seemed to be the day, and like all the always seems like the brighter trees, oranges and reds, turn first and are dropping. We still have a lot of green leaves on our trees because we've got these like silver maples that just kind of like turn to mast and fall. Anyway, in case you're wondering, but it's been kind of like nice, and it's been a nice little we've been here for a full year, and I can remember coming and being like, oh yes, I love fall here. It's just fantastic. So, and we've been taking advantage of all our special seasonal fall activities. What can I tell you? Several things on my mind. Number one day I really want to either write down or talk about the story of our crazy experience in the last, I guess 10 years or so, but mostly in the last 3 years of our moving to Asheville and moving back here and how all that went down. But because I think it's interesting, and I think it gives a little bit of hope for other people who are in a bad situation to know that there really is there is hope that you can get out of it. But I do think it's important to really assess for yourself what are your key things you need to be happy, and do whatever you can to put those first and work towards that. So figuring that out, when we left Ann Arbor, I think we thought we need to do the best thing we need to do what we can to have a bigger salary, and that proved not to be the thing that made us happier. So while that would be nice if it coincided with other things, we kind of sacrificed a lot of things that probably were more important, and learned about that pretty quickly and figured it out, and are happy to be able to get back to it's not even being back here, although there's something about it, but it has, because I don't even see the people I know. I actually had a better social life in Asheville, which is fascinating because I only knew 5 people. But financial stress is just a killer, and we really experienced that firsthand. And I think as soon as we got there and everything started to happen, and it was supposed to have been great, we were supposed to be making more money and all this stuff, and we immediately, everything went bad. We had all these pay cuts and benefit cuts, and it just became super intense and stressful. If you can if you can extradite yourself from that kind of a cycle, it's just worth it. So for us, coming here, which was a huge financial risk, we decided to take a job that was offered at half what we were making in Asheville. But the opportunity to get out of a situation that was a sinking ship, and then just find a way to see if we could just find a way to bail ourselves out and just reestablish ourselves, making a decision that made more sense. All along we have been responsible homeowners. So nothing against people that didn't follow, the appropriate rule. I know a lot of people out there didn't, but I didn't know that. I thought you had to put 20% down at least and get a fixed rate mortgage. I just thought it was everyone knew that's what you had to do. So we did. So of course we're not in any we never ended up in the situations that a lot of people did, because we had equity in our house. Even if our house lost value, we lost the money, but we never, we didn't get to a situation where we were in as bad a situation as other people who had no equity in their home, and then their houses lost value. So, and for people who've wondered how we've been able to do all this, that is how. Our first house, we had more than 20% in, I think 30%, and we lost money on that, obviously, because we sold in 2008, we bought in 2001, and while we sold for a little bit over what we paid for, we had realtor fees, and so we ended up walking away with the exact amount of money we had put in originally. Then we went to Asheville. Housing was more expensive, which was shocking because Ann Arbor is a pretty expensive area, but significantly more. And what had been 30% on our first house was 20% on the house we ended up getting. And then we sold that house, and after realtor fees, walked away with like a little bit less than half what we put into it. And so then when we came here, we had the choice of finding a house where we could, that amount of money left would be at least 20% if we were going to buy, or renting. But here we're in a place where, and it's different I mean, some people don't, I've talked to people, you just have no idea that, like, some places rentals are more than mortgages. They always were, because there's a high rental market. So because we're near a university, rentals in Ann Arbor are expensive, and to rent our house would be twice what we're paying in mortgage. So it made, because we know that we're happy here and that this would be a good enough place to settle, and because we were able to find a house that was a great deal where what we had left was more than 20%, we only put 20% in, we left the rest out so we could do improvements that would come up in the year and give ourselves a little bit of a cushion. And have money to be able to take a vacation 2 years later, but still. We got a house that's cheap enough that we could, I knew if it came to it, we could still afford the mortgage, even if I, as a social worker, was the sole breadwinner, or if Mr. F had to get a job like working at Lowe's, we could still pay the mortgage. Whereas every time we made a decision before, and a lot of people did this, and and it's a natural, and it's a competitive situation, and you can get fueled into it, we bought the most expensive house we could afford. And then that's how you set yourself up for a disaster. This time we bought, yes, a house that was well within something we could afford, and we knew that no matter how bad things got, we would be able to sustain this house. So we entered it completely differently. And because of that, so much happier. While we do not live off a lot of money, like we actually live off now. Things have worked out somewhat at Mr. F's job where, his salary has been raised a little bit. We live off literally half what we lived off when we lived in Ann Arbor originally, and are significantly happier. We didn't necessarily have anything more to show for that. And it's doable. So you know how they have that statistic about the $75,000 being the cap for happiness? I think I'm going to support that. I mean, I think it more depends where you live, because obviously cost of living is different. But we live in an expensive area, and our property taxes are really extremely expensive. So, I mean, we've lived in other places, and it's expensive here. And, like, goods are expensive. It's expensive. But, yes, making twice as much money, we were not happier. We make less than $75 now, significantly, but it's doable, because you can live within your means, and doing that, making good choices about if you can set yourself up for success. I think if you can set yourself up for success with your house, I mean, that's like your housing, that's key to the whole puzzle working out for you, because that's such a major expense. Also, we only have one car now. That's a fortunate benefit of Mr. F's job. But you may recall in Asheville, we sold his Volvo and bought a 1994 junker Subaru. And a Volvo we owned outright in cash, So, you can make choices, and you won't be unhappy. Hey, what? Ooh, sing one of your songs.
If I die young, baby, Sarah, Nana down in a bed of roses, take me to the riverside. I don't send me away with the word of a love song.
Okay, that's good. I know it's a little disturbing that she sings that. All right, I guess that's what I have to say today.